Most households in the United States have spent decades buying non-stick egg pans, tossing them when the coating scratches, then buying another one. Add that up over 20 or 30 years, and you have quietly spent hundreds of dollars on a problem that was already solved 100 years ago. Solved better, in fact, and for about $20. I have been paying attention to cast iron cookware for a long time. I have watched folks throw out perfectly good equipment because someone told them it was old-fashioned. I have seen the same cycle repeat itself. Buy a coated pan, scratch it, worry about what you just ate off that scratch, throw it away, buy another. And somewhere in the back of most people's minds is the half-formed thought that there must be a better way. There is. There always was. It is a small cast iron egg pan. It has been around for generations, and it does things no coated surface can match once you understand how it works. Before I go any further, if you want the full deep dive, the step-by-step breakdown, and everything I cover in this video laid out in one place you can refer back to, open the camera app on your phone right now and point it at the QR code in the top right corner of your screen. That will take you straight to the guide. And that code stays up there the whole video, so there is no rush. You can scan it anytime while we keep going. Now, here is something most folks get wrong straight out of the gate. They hear cast iron and they think heavy, complicated, hard to clean. They picture their grandmother wrestling a skillet the size of a manhole cover. That is not what we are talking about. The specific piece of equipment this video is about is small, lightweight by cast iron standards, designed for one job, and almost entirely forgotten. I want to walk you through what it is, why it disappeared from kitchens, what it actually does to an egg that a regular pan simply cannot, how to use it, how to care for it, and where to find one today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for and exactly how to use it, and you will never look at a coated pan the same way again. Let me start with what we are actually talking about. The piece of equipment is called a cast iron egg skillet, and in some older catalogs and kitchenware shops it was listed as an egg pan or a breakfast skillet. The defining feature is a series of shallow, round, cup-shaped wells cast directly into the iron, typically 5 or 7 of them, arranged across the surface. Each well holds one egg. When the pan heats up evenly, those wells become the single most controlled egg-cooking environment you can create on a stovetop. The egg sits in its own little pocket, surrounded by iron on 3 sides, cooking gently and evenly from the bottom and partway up the sides at the same time. This is fundamentally different from cracking an egg into a flat pan. On a flat surface, the white spreads out thin at the edges and stays thick near the yolk. You end up with rubbery, lacy edges and an undercooked center, or you overcook the center, trying to set the edges. With a well, the white stays gathered together around the yolk. It cooks as a unit. The result is a rounder, more evenly set egg with a yolk that sits exactly where you want it. It looks better, it cooks better, and it holds together on the plate instead of falling apart. Now here is what I find interesting about the history. These pans were common household items well into the middle of the 20th century. They were in hardware stores, in general stores, in mail-order catalogs. Then 2 things happened close together in time. Non-stick coatings became widely available and were aggressively marketed as the future of cooking, and at the same time, the idea of the formal sit-down breakfast, the kind where someone stood at the stove and cooked individual eggs to order, started to fade as households got busier. The egg pan got caught in both of those shifts. It looked old. It looked like extra work. It looked like something your grandmother used. And in the 1960s and 70s, that was not a selling point. Marketing did the rest. The pitch for non-stick was simple, and it landed hard. Nothing sticks. No mess. easy cleanup, modern kitchen. And I will be honest with you, for someone who had never properly seasoned a cast iron surface, that pitch made sense. The trouble is that the pitch left out several important truths. Coated surfaces scratch. They degrade over heat. They have a lifespan of a few years at best, and then you are buying again. Cast iron, maintained correctly, lasts for generations. I have seen pieces handed down from grandparent to grandchild that cook better today than they did when they were new, because the seasoning has built up over decades of use. The full story of why the marketing won and the cast iron lost, the economics of it, the cultural shifts, all of it, is laid out in the guide in much more detail than I can get into here. Open your camera app, point it at that QR code still sitting in the top right corner of your screen, and you can get into the full breakdown there. It is worth reading if this topic interests you, and I think it will. Let me talk about what cast iron actually does to an egg that a coated pan cannot. The key is heat retention and heat distribution. Cast iron is slow to heat up, which is why so many people give up on it. They turn on the burner, count to 30, decide the pan is ready, and crack an egg. But it is not ready. Cast iron needs a full 3 to 5 minutes of gentle preheating before you cook on it. Once it reaches temperature, though, the surface holds that heat with an evenness that no thin aluminum or stainless pan can match. When you crack a cold egg onto a properly preheated cast iron surface, the pan does not flinch. It does not drop in temperature. The egg meets consistent, even heat from the first second. What that means in practice is a fried egg with a set white that is not rubbery, a yolk that stays where you put it, and a gentle lacy brown edge if that is what you want, or no browning at all if you keep the heat lower. You have full control, because the iron is doing the work of maintaining the temperature. You are not fighting the pan. Now, one concern I hear from folks is sticking, and this is where I want to address a myth directly. The myth is that cast iron always sticks to eggs. That is not true of well-seasoned cast iron. It is true of unseasoned or improperly cared for cast iron. A pan that has been used regularly, lightly oiled, and kept dry will develop a surface that rivals any coating for egg cookery. The key word there is regularly. Cast iron builds its non-stick quality over time and use. The more you cook eggs in it, the better it gets at cooking eggs. That is the opposite of a coated pan, which starts out at its best and gets worse from the day you first use it. Seasoning is not complicated, but people overcomplicate it. You do not need special oils or elaborate oven cycles. A thin layer of any neutral cooking oil, wiped across the surface after each wash, and the pan stays in good condition. The wells on an egg pan are particularly easy to maintain because they are small and contained. There is no wide, flat surface for seasoning to wear unevenly. Each well develops its own smooth, slick coating over months of use. This is something I keep coming back to when folks ask me whether the effort is worth it. The effort is smaller than you think, and the reward compounds over years instead of degrading. Now let me walk you through actually using one of these pans, because the technique matters. You place the pan on a burner set to medium-low, not medium-high, medium-low. You let it sit there for a full 4 minutes. While it heats, you put a small amount of butter or oil into each well you plan to use, just enough to coat the bottom, about a half teaspoon per well. When that butter melts and starts to shimmer but does not brown, the pan is ready. Crack your egg into each well. If you want a runny yolk, cover the pan loosely with a lid or a piece of foil for the last minute. The steam finishes the top of the white without touching the yolk. The whole cook takes about 4 to 5 minutes. That is it. Cleanup is hot water, a stiff brush, no soap if you can avoid it, and a thin wipe of oil before you put it away. I know some folks insist a little dish soap will not hurt a well-seasoned pan, and that is probably true. But habit-wise, I find it easier to just skip the soap entirely, and the pan stays in better shape. Around this point, I want to pause and mention something for folks who are thinking about trying this. If you want the complete method, how to evaluate a pan before you buy it, how to restore an old one, what to do the first 3 times you cook on it, that full walkthrough is in the guide. Open your camera app and point it at the QR code in the top right corner right now, and you have got the whole thing. Everything I have covered in this video and more, laid out step by step so you can come back to it when you are standing in the kitchen. Now, where do you actually find one of these pans? This is a question I get often, and the honest answer is that they are not hard to find. They are just not in the same aisle as the coated pans at the big box stores. You have a few options. Estate sales and thrift stores are the first place I would look. Older cast iron pieces show up regularly at those kinds of sales, often for a few dollars, and a used pan that is in reasonable condition can be restored easily. Antique shops sometimes carry them, priced a little higher but still well under what you would pay for a name-brand coated pan. And several companies still manufacture them new. You can find them through kitchen specialty retailers and online for around $20, sometimes less. What to look for? The wells should be smooth on the inside, not pitted or cracked. A little surface rust on an old pan is not a problem. That cleans up with a little coarse salt and oil. What you do not want is a crack in the iron itself. Hold it up to the light and look at the rim and the handle joint. Cracks in cast iron are a deal breaker. Everything else is cosmetic. If you find a cracked one at an estate sale, put it back and look for another. If this is your first time buying cast iron and you want to start fresh with a new pan rather than hunting for a vintage one, I have nothing against new pieces. The manufacturing quality on a new pan is consistent. The main thing you give up is the established seasoning that an old pan already has, but you can build that yourself over the first few months of use. About halfway through this video, I want to mention something to the folks who have been watching this channel for a while. If you are finding this useful and you want to hear more of this kind of thing, practical, no-nonsense kitchen knowledge that cuts through the marketing noise, I would be glad to have you as a regular here. When you subscribe and turn on notifications, you are the first to know when a new video goes up. And the comment section is where I spend real time. If you have a question I did not answer here, ask it there. I read them and I answer. Let me come back to the question the title raises. Why did kitchens ditch this? I want to give that an honest answer, because I think it matters beyond just egg pans. The simple answer is that we were sold on convenience. The coated pan felt easier. It felt modern. And the cookware industry had every reason in the world to sell us a product that wore out and needed replacing. There is no business model in selling someone a pan that lasts 50 years. There is an excellent business model in selling a pan that lasts 3 years and then needs to be replaced. I am not saying there was a conspiracy. I am saying the incentives pointed one direction and the marketing followed the incentives. That is a pattern worth recognizing because it shows up in a lot of places in the kitchen and beyond. The old tools that require a little learning and a little care are often the ones that quietly outperform everything that replaced them. The cast iron egg pan is one of the clearest examples I know of that. If you want to round out what this video covered, the history, the technique, the seasoning method, the buying guide, open your camera app and point it at that QR code still in the top right corner of your screen. The guide walks through the whole thing in the kind of detail a short video can only touch on, and it is something you can keep and refer back to every time you use the pan. So let me bring this together. The cast iron egg skillet is a small, simple, durable piece of cookware that cooks eggs better than a flat pan by design. It never needed to be replaced by non-stick coating. It was replaced by marketing and by changing habits, not because it stopped working. It costs around $20 new, possibly much less if you find one at a thrift store or estate sale. It will outlast every coated pan you have ever bought, combined. The technique takes 10 minutes to learn and gets easier every time you use it. And once you have a properly seasoned one, you will wonder why you ever used anything else. This week, take a look at your local thrift stores, estate sales, or a kitchen specialty shop. You are not looking for anything fancy, just a small cast iron pan with individual wells in good condition. If you spot one, pick it up. The first time you cook an egg in it, and it slides right out of the well onto your plate, the whole argument of this video is going to make complete sense in a way that words cannot quite reach. I would genuinely like to hear from you in the comments. Did you grow up with one of these pans? Maybe your mother or grandmother had one, or you remember seeing one in an older relative's kitchen, or maybe this is the first time you have ever heard of them. Either way, tell me about it down below. I always read the comments and I always write back. Next time on this channel, we are going to look at another piece of old kitchen equipment that quietly disappeared and deserves to come back. And that one might surprise you even more than this one did. If you are not subscribed yet, there is a button right there, and I would be glad to have you. Until next time, cook carefully, spend wisely, and trust the tools that have already proven themselves.